Hey everybody, welcome to Badass Banter. I'm your host, Carol Filion, and Badass Banter, as you know already at this point now, is a hybrid of group discussion and podcast interviews. And this week, it's a podcast interview. We are getting a lot of these, which is awesome. I love it. Um, we are now streaming on YouTube, and we will probably be streaming this one on LinkedIn as well. So if you have any questions, it is a recording, so we are not going to be live, but by all means, post your questions in the Badass Revolution Facebook group, and Shawn and I will try to get back to you as soon as we. So I am super excited about my guest. You can see him. He's been waiting very patiently to jump in as I went through my regular drill. Super excited for a number of reasons. First of all, he's my first male guest. He's brilliant, talented, and we meet virtually almost every morning at 6 a.m. Sounds like an ungodly time, but we're used to it now. So, because we're part of the same study group. Now, Shawn and I are both Proctor Gallagher consultants. As a matter of fact, he is fully certified as a Proctor Gallagher consultant, and those early mornings are spent delving into Proctor Gallagher's flagship program, Thinking into Results. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Shawn is one of those prolific polymaths. He is so well versed in so many disciplines. It's actually brilliant, and it's super fascinating to talk to him. Get a load of this. He's a transformative entrepreneur. We're going to get him to explain what that is later on. As I mentioned, he's a certified Proctor Gallagher consultant. He's a chemical engineer with over 2 decades in the oil and gas industry. He's also a trained investor. He's a co-founder of the Global Centers for Social Entrepreneurship Network, and he also serves as the Global Channel Partner Coordinator for this organization. And through this organization, GCSEN for short,
GCSEN.
he's aiming to move the world to a better place through a 4P impact. That is people, place, profit, and planet. Shawn also studies martial arts. He's involved in music. He does it all, and he is guided by a desire to help others succeed. He strategically pivoted his career path after realizing his life's purpose. Mentored by world-renowned teacher Bob Proctor, that's right, the man himself, Shawn embraces a scientific approach to goal achievement and made it his life's work to teach this success process. He founded Teach-1 Enterprises LLC, that you can see in his background, inspired by the Thinking into Results program. As I mentioned, we met through the 6 a.m. Club, meaning that, and that's where we apply that constant spaced repetition. It's all about the study, isn't it, Shawn? Please, everybody, help me welcome Shawn Smith.
Wow.
Hello.
Wow. What an introduction. As you were saying all those things, I was like, who's she talking about? So, as we always say in a part of our morning classes, I have to accept it. These are the things I've done. These are the goals I've set. So, thank you for the gracious introduction.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I was so excited actually when we decided that we were going to be doing this because we're kind of like-minded, but not so much because you're more left brain than I am. So
Right.
that's where I thought, okay, fascination number one for me, because I'm really going to be interested in finding out how you've bridged left brain and right brain in the kind of work that we do today. But let's start from the very beginning, shall we? What got you into this work, Shawn?
Interesting question. So let me, before I even get into that question, I want to say congratulations on Badass Banter, because I remember distinctively it was during one of our 6 a.m. study session, and we were going through, what we call our shares, and something hit you. And I remember you saying, I'm going to start this. And I was like, I remember encouraging you to say, go for it, go for it. So now, and then I remember you also saying what your target audience is and that demographics. And I was like, well, women in their 60s. And so what is a guy? And at the time when you mentioned it, I says, I'm going to be one of her guests. And again, not knowing when and how, I says, I'm going to be on the show. But I said, what can I offer to Carol's audience? I'm not really in that, demographic, or it's about women. So it's interesting to see what can I share to help your audience.
Yeah.
And again, as part, I must say this too. So at Carol and I on the 6 a.m. we resonate. for some reason there's that track, and I've always we encourage her. Actually, I have a nickname for her. She has a great voice, so we said voice for radio. I said, well, no, he said she has a voice for radio. I said, no, well, she has a voice for TV because she don't do. Or maybe I messed it up because she has it the other
Yeah,
way
no,
around, but
it's
I call her
okay. Yeah,
voice for
because I
TV.
kept joking about I got a great face for radio, so I was
Right,
fine just
that's
doing the
it. That's it.
voiceover stuff. I didn't want to be on camera. I'm still not sure that I do.
Right.
But yeah, so
Well,
Shawn calls me the voice for TV.
there you go. So that's it. I messed the story up, but you
All good, all good,
yeah.
and I accept that gratefully. Thank you. So
Now,
let's, yeah, back to the
what got
original
me into doing
question.
this work? So, ever since a kid, I'm currently now in the Caribbean. So ever since a kid, I always thought of I was going to be successful somehow, somewhere, somehow. Went to school to be an engineer. And while doing that and growing up in New York and New Jersey area, and seeing how the country was being run after getting out in the corporate world, I knew I wanted more. So I started doing some self-development. I started with Think and Grow Rich. Every time I would travel for work, I'm on the plane, I'll make sure to read that book. Or bought my first home back on the West Coast, I was reading David Bach, Automatic Millionaire. So I started getting into different things. And I've always used to say, I don't want a job to be able to afford my lifestyle. So I always said I was going to have multiple sources of income before I knew what MSI was. So I started going on, the journey or the road of learning how to invest, learning how to create other income outside of a 9 to 5. And that led me down many different roads to start investing, to start self-developing. But the self-development piece came about a different way. It came about trying to understand understand who I am as a being, and then who I am as a person, especially is this Western world. As some of us know history and know different things. So I started going down that path of why. Why were my people treated a certain way? Why am I never the engineering manager? Why am I the engineering tech? Why am I not supposed to live in the neighborhoods that I lived in? Why is the cops circling my house because someone like me is not? So I started going down a different path. And I quickly realized that I couldn't continue going that path forever because you get labeled. And then not only that, after I started studying with Bob mentioned that I have to flip that energy. He says, one of his quotes, and I remember he says, don't be concerned with the ills of society or the corruptness of the politicians. So I had to flip that energy, right? Because that energy wasn't conducive to me, nor was conducive to others. So I had to figure out a way to translate or transmute that energy differently. So I started working on that, and I flipped that energy. I said, instead of trying to fight the system or fighting an uphill battle that I wasn't going to win, then teach people how to succeed. So if I teach people to be in a different place and be looked upon differently, I'm doing my piece or I'm doing my part, but from a different standpoint.
Oh man, you have encapsulated that so beautifully for not just for yourself, but for anyone that has faced any kind of oppression or have let circumstances dictate and define who they are.
And Carolyn, as
Right.
you know, as we coach and teach every morning, right? And going back to Napoleon Hill, like a lot of us, we're thinking from our current circumstances. So
Right.
when we call that living by our 5 senses, what we can smell, see, hear, taste, and touch, versus going within. I know I'm touching on something maybe our audience is not familiar with, but we talk about going into our mental faculties, our higher mental faculties, which there are 6. So since I mentioned the 5 senses, I should mention what they are. And we says the biggest nation in the world is imagination. So you want to get into imagination, intuition. We say prayers when you speak to God or the universe or whatever you call your higher being, higher power. And then intuition is when God speaks to you. Then we talk about reasoning. We all have a reasoning factor. That's our thinking. That's our educated mind. That's our thinking parts of our minds. And then the 4th is our memory. We all have a perfect memory, but we have to train it. And then the next one is 2 of my favorites are the imagination and the will. The will is the next one. It's not brute force or willpower. Will is your ability to concentrate, to stay focused on your goal, right? So I like to be able to use my imagination to create my ideas or my goals and use my will to keep that picture on the screen of my mind. And then last but not least is perception. And let me just say, perception is a key one, because if you can just change your perspective or your perception on things, your life will change. And I'm going to say 2 ways. Maya Angelou says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. So it's not just he or she has a bad attitude. No, attitude is much more than that, right? And then Wayne Dyer was similar to Bob Proctor. Wayne Dyer says it this way: if you don't like a thing, just change the way you look at the thing, and the thing changes right in front of you. It's
Exactly.
literally, but again, some of you hearing this for the first time, you may not believe me or understand it, but it's a mind game, it's a mental work.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is what you wound up doing too when you decided that as you were studying, right? You changed your perception.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
led to those thoughts that went, okay, here, I can think about it this way, or I can think about it this way, right?
Yeah.
Now, how long ago was that, Shawn?
So I've always started going down the self-development. I started back, it was on and off just reading the books. I would say 2005 or so, but I really started on my career in my young 20s as an engineer, and told myself, I saw, a couple of things I learned. I learned early that I didn't want to work forever for anybody, any job. In the engineering world, and especially in oil and gas, I worked in refining, and that industry is different, right? It's almost like a workaholic industry. And you have to dedicate. The companies require that you dedicate yourself to them. More, they even call you back off your vacation, and it's the kind of work where it's 24/7 operation. So you're expected to be on call when things go awry. You either need to make a call in the morning, through whatever time it was.
Wow.
You're expected to be able to answer the calls.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing some of that, and seeing how some of what we call our operations or technicians, how they work, and I watched older guys being scared to retire because they didn't know what was going to happen to them after retirement. And then I started reading different articles, and my mom, she takes care of people who are terminally ill or geriatrics.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has tons of stories. And I've heard stories from growing up from her. For example, there's a librarian in New Jersey. Back then, librarians, they don't make any money, or they don't make much money, right? So there's this one lady, she had over $1 million. And she was a librarian. She managed to save $1 million, but she's never been on a plane, never been on a vacation.
Oh, wow.
So what kind of life was that, right? And she was blind, couldn't spend her money. So again, my view on life, on how I wanted to live, I didn't want to depend on a company to take care of me. I wanted to retire before I was 45, and I wanted to do some things. I always wanted to give back in certain communities, right? So I wanted to give back to communities, to people. It started out with people of color in my communities that are from the side of the train tracks, so to speak, of where we're from. And then, I've since gotten away from that because I realized people are people. And as you know, Carol, now how we think and how we learn is what's been programmed inside of us, whether from our parents, the schools, our institutions around us, and whatever information we accept as true becomes our autopilot that guides us in how we act and behave. What got me into this work was, wanting to give back. And then as I started studying with Bob, and I realized I was going to move away from the States back in 2019 down to the Caribbean, where I'm at now.
And that's what it was. I was asking how long ago it was. Okay, so 2019.
Yeah. So 2019 is when I really dig deep, because I realized I was going to leave the corporate world. I was moving to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I decided I wasn't going to move until I had a certain amount of things in place. I was going to move with a engineering job. However, I wanted to make sure that I could sustain myself if that job didn't work out. So along the line of the road, I'm skipping a few things. I was investing in real estate. We were taught. I had a business partner. We were doing properties in Baltimore, Chicago, DC area, Jersey, and we were doing all different facets of real estate. Then I'm a taught options trader, so I was able to I trade options on the stock market. Then my wife and I, we have a local business, right? So I wanted to make sure I had incomes coming from different places. But then shortly after moving, COVID hit. Real estate went a little bit different, right?
Yeah,
so all the businesses, I had to start thinking quickly. And you saw me on the calls as trying to be cool, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes. A whole lot was going on.
I'll bet.
So started digging deep because now I moved from the States, sold my house, moved here, jobs, everything, and went fully all in. And then things took a turn.
Right.
And even that, things didn't really, we had a few contractors on the real estate side that was screw my partner and I. To the point where I say, if you make me get on a plane, it's going to be ugly. And at the time, I was dead serious. Thank God I didn't go on a plane, because I know me and the old Shawn, as I would always often say on the calls, it would have come out. So I'm happy I didn't make that decision. But
the martial arts kicked in, right? The martial arts kind of.
Yes, the martial arts kicked in. I had to calm down and let it be, because part of the things I always say says, I love life. I want to live. So I don't want anyone or anything to cause me not to be able to live the life that I'm choosing to live. Right?
Yeah.
So along those lines, those hard times was hitting on the business side. So tapped into Bob Proctor's coaching. And that's when everything started shifting.
Right.
Right. So it was 2020, 2021 when I took Bob Proctor's coaching. And a few of the people that I started a coaching group with went straight into the consultant business, but I stayed with the coaching. Then after the coaching, I came on as a consultant.
Okay. Okay. So that's what it was. So tell me about if you can, if was there a defining moment or a particular lesson of Bob's that was the one that made you go, that's it. That's the way.
Very interesting question, but I tell you, I don't recall a particular lesson, but I'm gonna tell you which one of the programs
Okay.
that got it for me, and that was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. So once we hit that program with Bob, that, Bob talks about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill as his Bible. And Carol, we all studied that book. We love it. But for me personally, it was The Science of Getting Rich.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times, even with my family, we share the book, Science of Getting Rich, Think and Grow Rich. They automatically think it's all about money.
Right.
You and I know that it's not about money at all. Money's, I'm not going to say the last because money is important, but it's not what it's about. Abundance in health, in thinking, in
The
love.
money almost seems to be just the quantitative piece of it, but it's everything that comes before that. It's the energy around money and the energy that we infuse it with. Right.
And as we say, the money paradigm, right? We say is how you are with money, how you think about money is your paradigm or your conditioning around money.
Yeah.
Of how, if you grew up in a family that says, oh, money's evil, is the root of all evil, and the money's hard to come by, and all these lack and limited thinking of money, then you're going to think very differently. Very differently.
Absolutely.
Right. So Think and Grow Rich, Wallace D. Wattles, as a matter of fact, part of the model that I adopted for Teach-1 Enterprise is our highest happiness is found in the bestowal on benefits and those we love. And that is a quote from Wallace D. Wattles from that book. And again, because of Teach-1, I want to teach individuals to become one with their goals, become one with themselves, become one with the universal power of God of whatever you. So that one has, when it first started out and I created this logo, I didn't knew how powerful the one is going to be because it's becoming one with everything, right?
Amazing.
And so again, so the Wallace D. Wattles quote of the highest benefits in the best is our highest happiness is found in bestowing on benefits on those we love is for giving back, right? So everything I'm starting to touch, the real estate company that we were dealing with at the time was called TOTA Investment Inc., TOTA, teaching others to attain.
Oh,
right?
Cool. Okay.
Teach-1 is giving back. Each one teach one behind the right? So all of what I'm doing, if I can help you to achieve your goal, you're helping me achieving my goal because I'm getting happiness and benefits from it. So it's all about seeing one. And again, remember, it started with want to see my community grow, want to see different expectation for people that look like me, wanted to see difference in how we were treated. Because again, I started asking a lot of questions, Carol. Why? Why? I was never satisfied with the status quo. So again, as you know, as drifters, if we all are trained and we go along with the 95%, we're going to get what they get. And I want it differently. So I had to fork off in the road and do something different.
Right. And I mean, and we go through this with thinking into results, talking about the terror barrier, right? I mean, and you hit that so much when you first start thinking in that 5% kind of thinking.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, because you touched on that when you were talking about, you moved everything, you just decide, all right, that's it, I'm going and we're done. And then bam, COVID hits. Right. How did you manage the terror?
Well, again, I was good thing I was had to learn to, and being a Northeastern, I don't trust anybody, right? And I used to have that thing about I don't trust people, right? But I had to develop faith. And at the time, I didn't even like the word faith, Carol, because you might because I associated with religion or certain religion.
Right.
And I didn't even like the word because of what I thought it represented, right? So, but as we go down it, we understand that there's laws. And as Bob would say, there are universal laws, godly laws. These laws aren't man-made, so man cannot change them. So part of it, you had to trust, like the law of polarity, all these different laws and understanding and having faith that in every religion, every good philosopher book says transmutation of energy, which is one of the laws of the universe, that energy merely moves from one form to the next. Energy is not created nor destroyed. So it's a conservation of energy and thermodynamics. Now, I don't want to geek it out too much as an engineer, but again, for every action is an equal and opposite reaction, conservation of energy. And energy just moves from one form to the next. And I could apply that to martial arts. So every Bible, every book, every religious book says thoughts become things. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So your thought is transforming or transmuting to the physical world. So if you understand that as a law, which is a transmutation of energy, that your thoughts must become your physical reality, I had to learn to trust. And then one day, as I was listening to Bob during one of the coaching sessions, I was in my room, I was in front of the mirror in my closet. And something in one of Bob says, says, we're thinking too much. And I just heard it says, get out your head and into your heart. Like, get out your head. I'm overthinking it. Trust it. And all I heard in my voice was, get out your head. And then I finished it and said, and get into your heart. So again, it's believing what we're saying, believing what we're teaching. And ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come overnight. That takes practice and studying and trusting that I'm even working with a young lady now. And if you look at her from the outside, you would think she has everything going on, but she doesn't believe, she's lacking on the inside. She doesn't believe she can achieve anything. She feels like a failure. So again, it's that self-love. It's going to Lewis A. It's going to all these different teaching, whatever. You have to go within, from inside out.
And it's a constant reminder. You constantly have to remind yourself. It's almost a daily thing, right? It's like catching the thought, because think of it, it's decades of programming.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, so you really kind of, you pretty much answered one of the questions that I alluded to at the beginning, and that had how you were able to bridge your left brain, right brain, right? And that was the faith piece, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was, your left brain totally understood energy, all of the, the quantum physics kind of stuff, right? It was like, yep, check, goes down the checklist. But then it's like, okay, now you have to have faith. Whoa. Little hamster stops on the wheel, right? And goes, whoa,
on the
whoa,
spiritual,
whoa, whoa,
exactly.
whoa, what are you talking about? Right?
Absolutely. And,
so
and
the
I must say, Carol,
is a tricky one for sure. So I love that you changed your perception of that word.
Yes. And as you know, and Bob actually, he calls it full faith. Bob he has a thing. Let me see if I can remember the quote. I'm forgetting the quote, but typically what he says, in order for you to obtain what you want, you have to be persistent, and you have to have full faith. And this definition of full faith is faith with gratitude, already giving thanks for that which you want. It's not just blind faith, it's full faith, right? Yeah. So that hit home hard. And it almost says what you resist persists, right? So I was resisting faith, but it was a breakthrough for me as well, as think of faith differently, right? And I have one of my good friends too. He's also my business partner in real estate. And him and I, he kind of started me down this journey. He used to send me a bunch of stuff. But the difference between him and I is he'll watch a lot of stuff, but he doesn't act on it and go through. And I keep telling Andre, you have to go through with it, right? So again, it goes back to our lesson 2 in TIR, thinking into results, right? We says the biggest gap in the world is not the Grand Canyon, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest gap is between what we know and what we do. You can see a lot of what we call intellectual derelicts living under a bridge. They got all kinds of degrees and knowledge, but they know, but they can't do. So you have to translate that knowing into doing.
I know. I can't help but chuckle every time that, when you start to talk about these concepts, right? And you've got somebody coming at you going, oh yeah, I know. We know so much. We're so smart.
No, I literally tell people nowadays, I don't give up. F what you know.
Yeah.
I said, show me what you do. Like as Bob says, if we want to be free, we got to be ourselves. So if I want to be free, I got to be me, but I better know who me is.
Yeah. If there's no clarity around that, absolutely.
Right.
I think that's where it becomes, and I think that's why people don't do, because they don't look at it as progress instead of perfection. It's procrastination through perfection, right? Because it's not going to be perfect, so I'm not going to do it.
And so I know we're bouncing all over the place, and it ties in. I was going to finish the story of my friend, but however,
Yeah.
What you just said, people are looking for perfection versus progress. And I'm going to use Earl's Nightingale definition of success, which Bob uses, and I love it. I use it in my teachings. It's 9 words, and Bob said it's the best definition he's ever had. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And 4 of the words Bob has had a study was progressive, realization, worthy, and ideal. So it's not about, we say what success is not for attainment, it's for growth. That's whatever is within you wants to be, we call expansion and fuller expression. So if you're going on that journey every day and you're seeing incremental growth and you're seeing progressive growth, you're successful. It's not that you're going to attain or get perfection. It's for growth. And a lot of us don't get that.
Yeah.
It's that thing that's in us that God desired, seeking expression to be taken out to a broader audience and hopefully to be used for good.
Yeah. And I think that there's a big fear of people admitting what they want. I don't know if you've come across that, but it's like, it's very difficult, especially for women, I find, that is like, well, no, okay, well, I want my kids to be happy. I want my grandkids to be happy. I want my husband I want to retire my husband. I want to,
Right.
but you know what I mean? But when it comes to say, no, what do you want? And very often I get the deer in the headlight look that go, whoa, okay, maybe I'd like a nice car. Okay, yeah, keep going. Let's go.
Because
Keep
I
going.
think I can answer that, Carol.
Yep.
I think that's because in our society, women are nurturer, right? And we're taught to take care of others, take care of your husband, take care of your kids. And we're taught that if we go after what we want first, if we go after what we want first, it's selfish.
Right.
But let me borrow a line from Oprah. Oprah says, it's not selfish, ladies and gentlemen. It's self-full. You have to be self-full. Because I look at it like, if my cup is empty,
yeah,
how can I pour into your cup?
Exactly.
Empty cup cannot fill up. So fill up your cup, and you can you can pour into somebody else's cup. Let me give you an example. So this lady, she's good at what she does. She has this gift, right? And she's actually certified, and she didn't want people to know, but she's actually a certified chiropractor, but she's working as a masseuse. Well, she's not certified. She's a chiropractor, but she needs to pass the, whatever test it is, like the bars or whatever, to become a doctor.
Wow.
And she's very good. She loves the body, but she doesn't like how chiropractors practice. She said, and then she got in this mindset from her family, and I could tell she needed some work. So every time I have an injury, so I was going for, therapeutic massage before, and you don't know this, but I probably got to get an MRI pretty soon because my shoulder is jacked up again. And so I was trying to go through some therapeutic stuff versus trying to go, have surgery. And she was working me out, and we talked quite a bit, and she's really talented, very, very good at what she does. But now she has a thing that I'm seeing. You're a masseuse for X amount of years and you're a chiropractor. I said, that combination is deadly. There's not too many people who can put that together. But she's like, oh, no, I don't want to be a chiropractor. They're this, they're that. I don't want to have money. Look how much people. And I said, whoa. Look at your money paradigm. You got it all wrong. I said, think about it. If you don't want money, I said, you can go and be a chiropractor. And I said, the more resources you have, the more you can help the people that you said are starving. So I says, you're not thinking about this the right way. You have to be, so I did a few coaching sessions with her. Her husband is also an entrepreneur. So we've built a friendship there. And I hope now she's like, you know what? I'm going to go past and study my test. But her money paradigm was such that she grew up saying that money was evil. And look at all these rich people, they're getting more. And I said, no, I said, rich get richer. We know why now, because we gave the secret to success. And I don't know if people recognize it, attitude. How you think. Your thinking creates an image. Your image creates a feeling. Your feeling puts your body in a vibration, which leads to action. Your action leads to your result. So let me break that down a little bit further. I'm going to simplify. You think, you feel, you act, and your action leads to your result. You do those things, and that's the recipe for success. Think, feel, act, and you get your results. And again,
but instead, we look at the results, then we feel that, well, and then that
so we look at our results.
So, and
absolutely.
Bam, 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 bam. So
actually, I have graphics of this. If we have more time, maybe I would even share my screen and show how the stuff works. But it's the same. If you're thinking from your physical world, your physical senses again, and you're taking those inputs back to your thinking, just like Carol said, you're going to be stuck in the loop because you're thinking from your circumstances or your environment versus if you're thinking from within your creative imagination to create a new result.
Absolutely. It's the tail wagging the dog. It's the classic story of the tail wagging the dog. People, that's why I don't listen to the news. because it's like, oh yeah, this world is going to hell in a handbasket. No, it isn't. It's just a bunch of people like behind a desk with some great lighting and a great microphone telling me that
You know,
there's,
Carol,
I'm not saying there isn't nasty stuff going around the world, going on in the world, but I believe that there's a lot more good happening in the world.
there's a lot more good that's being advertised. So you touch on something there for me, because again, when I was going down the road of asking why, I used to watch a lot of different news outlets, both local and abroad, just to try to figure out what the truth is, because I'm a seeker of the truth. And my wife used to tell me, Shawn, stop. I used to watch that stuff 20, as long as I wasn't working or playing sports or what, figuring out what's going on. And I don't watch any of it now.
Yeah.
Any of it. A few of my clients, some younger siblings too, I was coaching them on this stuff. And I, there's one of my reggae songs, that I teach from music. It says, one of the artists says, when you tune in, you have to know when to tune out. You can't be tuned. He says, when you tune in, you got to know when to tune out. So one of my younger brothers, he said, Shawn, you're so right about the media, how they are conditioning or building your paradigm, right? And he said, what he says was so profound to me. He said, Shawn, they even telling us how to feel and when to feel, which is, if you think about it, they tell you when you should be happy, when the economy is good, when Christmas comes, when you should spend your money, blah, blah. So if you're tuning in there and you accept it as true, you're being programmed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I don't watch any of it now, is what I'm getting at. My wife is so proud of me because I really don't watch the news anymore.
Wow.
I watch
That's
very
amazing.
little TV these days. Very little.
Yeah. Yeah, same. And when I do, it's the feel good stuff. I'm a big fan of Ted Lasso. I thought
Right.
there were so many great life lessons in there. I've got that on repeat. I absolutely love it. But
I have to go and watch that now.
Oh yeah, I'm very selective now. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the story of Mr. Rogers, fabulous.
Yep.
Absolutely fabulous. Another one. And I'll watch it on repeat because there's something I missed the first time. And so, right, it seems illogical, right, to be doing the same thing over and over again when it comes to, because we think of Einstein saying that, well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Got it. But if you're expecting different results, then change the things that you're doing over and over again, do those things over and over again, and then watch your results change. Now
Absolutely.
you're going to get it. You're not going to get a different result. You're going to get the result you want.
And as you mentioned, it's illogical, as Bob would say, and our paradigm was formed illogical. Therefore, we're going to have to do illogical things to change them.
Exactly.
And what you mentioned in the work we do, what is the first law of learning? Repetition is the first law of learning. So you and I know what I'm studying now, I'm doing it for 90 days. Sometimes we read the same paragraph for 90 days. Why? As Carol says, she watched stuff on repeat because she picks up something that wasn't there before. It's not that it wasn't there before. It's that her awareness allows her to pick it up. Your deeper understanding is going to allow you to pick some things up. So repetition of the right material is key. And that's in any field. If you're a ball player, you don't pick up the ball one time and you're a pro. If you're a whatever engineer, I didn't go to school one class and I'm an engineer. If you're a doctor, vice versa, you have to be repetitious. And as she mentioned, what is a habit? Dr. Joe Dispenza said a habit is what? When the body knows it better than the mind. We call that the tail wagging a dog. But you have to be the mind to control it. Right. So again, but you have to be in your conscious mind thinking to be able to change your habits. I wish I had my screen up. I would have showed the thing about what we said. What is a paradigm in your habitual behavior? You say your paradigm is a set of habitual behaviors, and almost all your behaviors are habitual.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's a behavioral thing
that collection.
And it's your control mechanism, your autopilot, your thermostat. When you're not thinking, that thermostat is going to go back to whatever temperature is set at. So, and that's what your mind is and your subconscious mind. I know we're digressing a bit, but
oh no, it's okay.
I just want you guys to understand that the results you're getting or wherever you are is based on when your thermostat is set. So if you're set for 70 degrees and, say in the winter, the door is open, then it's going to, the thermostat or the boiler or the AC is going to kick on and kick off to control where you are, almost like the same autopilot in a plane. So wherever you're set, even when you're not thinking, that's the results you're going to get, plus or minus whatever deviation. Now, if you want a new temperature, you got to change it to get a new thing. And you got to consciously think, put in a new set point to get a new result. If not, you're going to go right back to your old programming. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Oh, and think of an actual thermostat. And that's what made me think of it and it's a constant thing, right? So when I'm doing the 6 a.m. with you, okay, then I get downstairs and the temperature drops to 18 degrees Celsius. And so, and there's sensors in the bedroom and the sensor on the main floor. I get down to the main floor and it's like, whoa, I need a blanket.
Right.
Right. So I crank it up, but it'll only go until 6 a.m. So, and then at 6 a.m., it goes to a different temperature setting. So if I would have to go back into the programming of that thermostat and say, start cranking it up at 5:30, please, so I can be at least comfortable when I come downstairs, right? So whenever life throws its inevitable curves at us, we want to have that resilience. We want to have that like gut instinct, if you will, that's already baked in, right?
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely,
only way I can describe it. So you must have seen some tie-in then to martial arts. I mentioned that earlier.
You know, it's absolutely transmutation of energy, right? So even before I go there, repetition.
Yeah.
When we're starting martial arts, and my sensei, he's been practicing maybe 40 years. He's another engineer. I met him at one of my jobs in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And he said when he first started out, because we started training with some guys who were Marines who were stationed in Japan. So they picked up the art taught by monks and others, and they brought it back to the US and South America and other places, mainly out of Chicago and Venezuela, actually.
Wow.
And he says at the time when he started, he was just a young teenager and they wouldn't let them train with the regular, they call them karatekas, right? Of the karate guys.
Mhm.
So they said they just had him throwing sukis. We call it sukis a punch, just throwing punches over and over. They wouldn't let him participate. So he had to just punch over and over and over and over until it becomes, because martial arts, again, is transmutation of energy. A lot of people think it's big. No, it's you have to use your hips from the ground up. So your core, your lower body to transmute the punches, transmutation of energy. So that there's a lot of the laws and the principles of success in martial arts. Bruce Lee and others talk a lot about it. Give you the example. In my karate, there was Shorin Ryu karate, which is Japanese version. And we go, our top leader, Godan, I realized he was a bit eccentric, but he's very wise. And I've realized that his teachers were monks, Japanese monks. So he got a lot of the teachings in the good Zen and the different, same lessons we teach, but maybe on a slightly different level. But he was also one of the very first student of Jose Silva. So even when we're punching and hitting the macawater, he says, Shawn, 100 times a day to find the way. He always says 100 times a day. And he says, this is not just in your karate. He says, use it for your business. He says, as you're practicing and you're hitting the board, the macawater is a board that he says, as you're punching, think about the problem you're trying to solve in your business or your life. And as you're punching and transmuting that energy, it's going to come to you. It's going to come to you. Wow. So a lot of what we teach also is not to be offensive. It's defensive, knowing how to just, you don't want to beat your opponent into a post. You want to disable and walk and move on, live to fight another day, right? So, and a lot of us too, you could using other people's energy against them, right? Or knowing where to move, how to move. But a lot of, again, even just going back into this practice is knowing how to transmit your energy. And first law of learning, repetition, doing the basics and getting good at the basics. So absolutely a lot of that in it.
Is that Bruce Lee quote of, I'm not afraid of the man who can do 1,000 different kicks. I'm afraid of the man who does one kick 10,000, who's done the one kick 10,000 times.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to the law of repetition, because if you're practicing 1,000 different types of kick, meaning a roundhouse, a back kick, a horse kick, this kick, right? But you're not perfecting it. You're not practicing it long enough to be like jack of all trades, master of none. Right. And that was a quote by Bruce Lee. He said, Bruce Lee says, I'm afraid of the guy who practices one kick 1,000 times.
Right.
And Bob used to say that, and Bob says, you guys find it illogical or weird that I say study something for 90 days, 120 days, right? He says, you may not get it. He says, the 5th time, the 105th time, he said, you may have to do it 1,005 times before it sinks in. And every time you go deeper and deeper, you get a deeper level of understanding. Bob used to say, there's only 2 things in this world, and it's the law of polarity, is knowledge or ignorance. And you only gain knowledge through study. And how do you get, how do you get repetitious? You have to study. And that's what we do, Carol. 6 a.m. every day, every morning.
Yeah. Well, it's either constant spaced repetition or emotional impact,
Correct.
right? And
Correct.
that, who wants the latter? And emotional impact can happen even if you do constant spaced repetition. But boy,
Correct.
the person who has done constant spaced repetition can handle the emotional impact way better than the person who has not, the person who has been in
Agreed.
ignorance,
Agreed.
right? That's
And it
that's the big
and going
difference.
along these lines too, what we just said about that is the time and study. You have to put the time in. Like you see, we talk to a lot of people who come to us needing help. They want to gain success. They want different things, but they're not willing to do the work. Even in their dire situation, they're in their bondage zone. And I know I'm using some different terms, but they're comfortable in their bondage zone that they won't do the work. They literally see you have to do the work. You have to put the time in to get better.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I always say 99% is hard, 100% is easy. If you're not
Right.
all in and you're not willing to do everything, then it's going to be hard. You're going to be 99%. And I relate that to uh weight release, right? It's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that diet, but I got a wedding to go to, and then there's so and so's coming over for dinner, and I know they won't eat the stuff that I'm eating. So, there's that 1%. Well, that 1% has the piece of cake or the cigarette or the glass of wine or the whatever it is that is going to derail you. So it's the discipline, right? It goes back to what you were talking about earlier, the will, the discipline, the focus is staying on track,
And
right?
and that's a great word for martial arts, for success. You have to be disciplined. Like I think Bob says that there's no great connotation about discipline and persistence. It's characteristic of success. You must be. And let me just use Bob's definition, what Bob defines as discipline. Bob says discipline is giving yourself a command and following it through. Now, if you can't give yourself a command and follow yourself, how are you going to follow other people or listen to other people? So you have to be disciplined enough to take your own advice, right?
Yeah.
Or to believe in yourself.
Absolutely. And I mean it is and we're not, and I certainly don't want to give the impression that, okay, yeah, we're doing this work and we're perfect. No, we're not.
Oh,
That's just it. Is that this is it's a daily thing. It's a constant reminder. I'm constantly having to remind myself of these lessons. There's
no,
decades of programming.
absolutely. We all fall short. Even Bob used to tell you he's a work in progress. And we listen.
We all are.
The reason why we do it daily is because we're not perfect, because we don't get it. If we got it right on the fifth time, we wouldn't need to do it every day.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I,
Um
I speak for myself on that, Carol. Like,
yeah.
as you know, what I'm studying for until the end of March or close to April is going to be winner's image. I'm working on changing my self-image, or what you call my inner image, because I'm not at the level where I want to be. I'm creating
Mhm.
the image of the person I want to become. So I'm working on that now.
Mm.
And I'm fairly, again, I know I'm kind of going over it, but it ties in. Like a lot of people say successful people, oh, the rich get richer, they're evil, they're this, they're that. Let me tell you why successful people gain more. Givers gain. First of all, if you give and you provide a service, you're always going to get back. Because what? That's also one of the laws. What you put out must come back to you. So transmutation of energy. If you put out good energy, it's going to come back to you. If you help others, you're going to get rewarded in return. Right? So it's that thing where people get more. Successful people, it's not because they're evil. The rich get, no, it's this. They understand when they set a goal, they think on that goal, they impress that goal into their subconscious, they work on it, they achieve the goal. And once that's done, they change their image and they say, oh, wow. Let's use money because everybody understands money. Let's say, okay, I wanted to earn 100,000. I hit that goal.
Mhm.
Now I said, wow, I hit 100,000. Let me go for 500,000. So
Mhm.
now you set that goal. You know what the process of thinking, feeling, acting, and getting your results. So you repeat it again. So every time you hit your new goal, guess what you do? You change it again. You put in a new goal and you going for more. What did I say life was for? Growth. So if you keep getting more, and that's exactly why. It's not because they're evil. Again, that was put in my head as a kid and growing up. Oh, they're those rich. No, it's because they understand the process. And some of them, as Bob used to say, they may be unconscious competent, meaning they have a mentor, they have a coach. Someone says, do this, do that, you get that. So they're able to gain some success. But Bob would say if they lose it, oftentimes they wouldn't know how to do it because they didn't understand the process.
Right.
So someone who understands the process can make it, lose it, regain it, and do it again. So once you do it and you understand the process, you repeat and you rinse it and you do it again.
Rinse and repeat. Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that again, that's the perception, right? And I think again, it ties back a little to media because we're just so as a society, we very often get we're so hungry for all the salacious details of rich people and when they fall and when something happens or whatever, and they get back on their feet. So, and yes, it's not to say that are there rich people that are jerks? Of course, but having more money doesn't change you. It just magnifies who you are. So if
I love
you're a
that.
really, really good person to begin with, and you've got $100 million net worth, the good-hearted person is going to do some really amazing things in this world with that money. But somebody who is an a-hole that winds up with $100 million, well, yeah, for sure. They wind up on the news. That's not the money. That's the energy around that person,
Perfectly said, Carol. Perfectly
right?
said. And
So,
I'm glad you cleared up because there's a lot of people around with a misnomer of money, and you're
yeah.
right. If someone went from zero to $100 million,
Mhm.
what you're seeing from them when that is just that person, it's not the money.
So,
Money is an inanimate object. If I put $100 million on the table right now and leave it and do nothing with it, it will do nothing by itself until someone comes, picks it up, and do something with it.
mhm.
It's the resources. We need to think about it that way. That, for example, our society like to say, oh, money's not that important and all these things, but that's also a lie in itself because I like to put it like this. If you went to higher education, you went to school for almost 20 years from the time you were a kid. Then by
Mm,
the time you get out, you work for another 40 years. That's 60 years of your life that you're
mm,
doing what? Doing something for money, to earn money to live. So
right.
yes, it's vitally important. Now, it's what you do with that money. If you develop that desire again, and what did I say? The desire is the unexpressed possibilities within you
Mhm.
seeking expression in the outer world. So that's the God-given spiritual thing inside of you that wants to be expressed. So if you define what that is, set a goal, work on that, and it's for to do good with it. So for example, if you have a money goal and you achieve that goal,
Mhm.
is to use that money to do good, to do the things that you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with you living lavish or living in abundance,
Mhm.
but you have to, and again, to me, if you're living on that thing, that desire, then to me, it's like you're automatically going to do good because it's not for a selfish reason. It's for the betterment. There goes the 4P impact again. It's
Right.
profit, place, the community you live in, the planet, and the people around you to make everything what we say a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you can help others achieve their goals, you're going to do better automatically as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up too. Can you expand a little bit more on that 4P?
Yeah, so that organization, GCSEN, is a group out of New York, upstate Kingston, New York, and it's Global Centers for Social Entrepreneurship Network. I'm the co-founder for the Caribbean region, right? And what we do in the channel partner, helping it grow. We actually have a few programs where we help others set up their businesses and become entrepreneurs and giving them some courses on that. Um, Most recently, we pivoted quite a bit and we did a 12 series TV show on it's a subsidiary of Discovery Channel where we help veterans. We featured veterans and their businesses. So that was a huge pivot from doing higher education, a classroom, to TV and production. So hopefully next
Wow.
year is going to be bigger and better things. But what we do is it's part of the giving back and how I partnered, just like the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you, Carol, and on your podcast, and people seemingly from different parts of the world, different tracks coming together. Same guys I'm working with GCSEN is not guys I would have sat out to work with or sought out to work with, but the cause, the resonance, the cause of what we're doing
That's
connects. They're aligned, right? And so again, we focus not just for profit for entrepreneurship business, right? We want to make, of course, profit. You need profit for sustainability, but we
Mhm.
want to make sure you impact the place in which you work, the people in the community, and then last but not least is to have an impact on the planet as well. So that's how we coach and try to inspire people to get a holistic impact in the business that their ventures that they're starting.
That's amazing. So, and this is global, like this is all over the world.
It's global, but it's we're trying to grow it global. We're over in the UK, Ireland, the US, here in the Virgin Islands, and I think partners have some other work they may have done some work in Asia. I'm not so sure about that, but we want to make, and again, we're somewhat pivoting because we were always more classroom based, teaching how to set up your performer, set up your pitch deck, and get your companies and different strategies. Well, the way we run our class, Mike and Tony are going to give you all the technicalities, how to dot your I's, cross your T's on your business, but I'm going to give you the mental side of what it takes to put it all together and stick to it. So that's the kind of approach we take on it.
Okay. And I gotta say, I love that so much because the chemical engineer guy, the left brain guy is going, yeah, these guys are going to give you the left brain stuff. You get over here and I'm going to get you in your right brain and into your heart to figure all of this out. This is amazing. That's an amazing initiative, Shawn.
I'm telling you, it's also just the growth even in me and the transformation, because again, years ago, 5 years, I wasn't talking like this. So like maybe someone would talk to me like this. I said, you're crazy. But as I've learned, read any books. Yeah. You know, the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, all these great philosophical books, the ones we read, Think and Grow Rich, Use Square, As a Man Thinketh, Working with the Laws, The Science of Getting Rich, all these books, it tells you, guard your mind as you think, right? It's that powerful. I mean, thought is the most powerful energy there is, and thoughts always manifest itself into the physical world. Your results, you know what, on that note, I got to find that quote, one of my favorite quote, and it hits just on that, and it's by James Allen, and I'm sure you know it by now, Carol, because I read it, but I have to share it as we're talking about where our environments are. So it's by James Allen, and it's from As a Man Thinketh, and this goes like this: mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. So your environment is a reflection of what's in the mirror. Your environment is a reflection of your thoughts. Your thought has transmuted itself in the physical world. It's transformed it. So again, is a quote I would say, leave the mirror alone and change your face. If you want something different, it's not the mirror. Change your face. Change your thoughts.
And that's where I think meditation has been really, I know it's been super important for me. And I know you're also a fan of Joe Dispenza's. And so that has, and I'm sure that with the combination of martial arts and everything else really helps to get you centered,
you know,
grounded.
And when I was fully on my entrepreneurship before, so recently, Carol, in the last 4 months, I've took on some consulting role, some engineering consulting again locally. And I had a lot more time controlling my day, and I did a lot more meditation getting into it. And it's something I was starting to dive into. I'm not going to tell you I'm the master of it, but it's an essential practice. As Dr. Joe Dispenza said, most of us live by a memory of our past versus the vision of our future. And what does he say meditation is? Meditation, he says, is to become familiar with the future. So he says, we can create a memory of the future. No, I didn't misspeak. We can create a memory of our future. And he says, how do you do it? By meditation, visualization, meditate on the thing that you want. You do it so often, you visualize it, that it becomes a memory of your future. And that's what you're creating in the now. Again, a guy like me, engineer, would not be talking like this a few years ago, but I've come to study it, accept it as true, and it's creating all the things that I'm going after.
Accept it as true. That I love that, because that's where I think a lot of us fall off the rails. We doubt, and we're riddled with doubt, fear, all of that stuff. Yeah, but what if it, that, or like Joe Dispenza says, he hears all the time, people say, I did this meditation thing like 3 times and I don't feel any different. Okay. It's a practice, right? A meditation.
First law, repetition. So again, I think we've touched on that one. Repetition is quite key, ladies and gentlemen. And again,
we don't mind repeating ourselves on it because it is important. That's just it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, some of us, or old me, used to get annoyed when somebody would repeat themselves.
I tell some of my clients, right? Some of my clients, I tell folks in doing this work, and I don't say that, but I used to say I'm going to have the most issue working with someone who's educated. Because when I tell them, hey, you have to do this morning, noon, and night, you got to do it 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, they'll be like, I read it already. I'm not dumb. I understand what it says. Why would I need to do it? That's not it. Repetition is learning. You're going to get deeper and deeper. Again, as one of our colleagues, Vanessa, says, people who just do things in their conscious mind and just know it versus doing, she says that's knowledge like in a book. It just resides on a shelf. That's knowledge that resides on a shelf. So until you understand how to put it into play and make it secondary nature to your action and going, then you really don't know it.
Absolutely.
Well, you know it in the conscious mind, but you don't know it in terms of activating it and vibrating on it.
I couldn't agree more. All right. I mean, I could go on forever, but we are at the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that you've got a free laser coaching call with you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. Awesome. So 45 minutes, folks. 45 minutes with Shawn, with this individual that I just adore. Actually, he's
Thank you.
just so he's such an amazing human. And if you were wondering at the beginning, yeah, why a male guest? I mean, all of the things that Shawn has spoken about are things that relate to all of us as humans. Period. Doesn't matter what the gender is, the age, the color, doesn't matter. None of it matters. We are all humans. We are all spiritual beings having a physical experience. And
Love it.
so this is an opportunity to have a chat with Shawn and get into some laser coaching, zero in on whatever the block might be, whatever it is you want to talk to him about. He's given you 45 minutes of his precious time on the house. So I'm going to drop the link. You've already sent me the link, I believe.
Yes.
So I'll make sure that the link is in the comments. And certainly if you have any questions, by all means, drop them in the comments. And Shawn, I think you are part of the group as well. So you'll be able to see them. So you can tag Shawn, and Shawn will get back to you. So this has been absolutely amazing, my friend. Thank you so, so much. I am so deeply grateful. Deep paths have crossed, and that we were able to do this, because this is the power of manifestation, isn't it? It was one of those conversations that, like you said at the beginning, that I thought, I think it'd be kind of cool to start a podcast. That'd be fun. And then you saying, I'm going to be on that show, and look at us now.
I remember encouraging her. We was like, what's the name? She was like, Badass Banter. I was like, love it. Let's go for it. Do it, because
it was badass.
Carol knows I'm working on a YouTube things as well to teach this material using music. And I've been stalling somewhat, but it's coming out, folks. It's coming out soon, folks. And amazing. Carol, I want to say thank you for having me. And again, I was saying, well, what is and being the first male on your show. And I thought about what can I offer to your audience? But before I go, I just want to say this to your female audience, so to speak, or your female audience of that age demographic that you're catering to, is it's never too late. As I'm working on the inner image, or the self-image as we call it, it's never too late. And we have an image of perfection that's waiting to be brought out, right? So in one of Bob's protege, Arash, would always say, your inner image or your self-image is your ceiling. You'll never be able to outperform where you see yourself. So that's why I'm doing the work now to raise my self-image so I can raise my results. So wherever you are, you need to do that inner work, and it's not too late, because you got an image of perfection. Whatever that thing is that's burning, that wants to be, that burning desire, it wants to be expressed, you can do it. The fact that you even have that desire means you have the ability to do it. And Carol knows there's only two questions you got to ask yourself when you want to go after that desire. Am I able? And am I willing? And Bob would say, get the able part out of it, because you have an image of perfection and you have whatever it is and you can do it. Other people are doing it, means you have the same ability. You may not believe that yet, but you're able. The question is really then, are you willing? What are you willing to do? What's the sacrifice? You got to give up something to get something, right? And I would tell people, it's not the law of sacrifice. It's not a whole lot you have to give up. Think about it this way. Just give up lower level thoughts for higher level thinking.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What amazing, amazing words of wisdom to leave us with. Shawn, I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you so, so much. Amazing to get caught up with you. So there you go. First male guest.
Thank you.
Love it. All right. Have an amazing day. Take care.
You too. All right.
Bye. Bye.